Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Kesubos Yud Ches. We begin right on top of the Amud. And once again, we are back to the Mishnah, where Rabbi Yeshua tells us, although typically when it comes to monetary claims, just a simple claim, bari, even if it's a definite claim, that's not sufficient to win the case. However, if this fellow has a strong factor in his favor, a strong migu, we call it pesha asar, pesha hitter. I instigated the entire claim. I acknowledged. I'm the one who triggered the entire episode. I came over to you and I said, look, this field that is in my possession actually used to belong to your father, and I purchased it from your father. Pesha asar, the same mouth, the same expression that triggered the concern, when I said it's your father's, provided the remedy as well. I purchased it from him. So either you ignore me totally, or you believe me in everything that I said. You take the entire claim in its entirety. Pesha asa pesheter. Yeah, used to belong to him, but then it went over to me. So he's neman. However, if he wasn't the source of the information was known otherwise, there were Eidim that this field belonged to his father. And then I follow up by saying, well, I purchased it from your father. There's no pesha asar, pesha hitter, I'm not neman. So two sides of the same coin. If he initiated it, pesha asar. Otherwise, there is no pesha asar. But why do we speak about fields and fathers? Let's speak directly in terms of finances. Velisni, the same very exact halacha the Mishnah could have presented in a more simple format. Velisni, the Mishnah should say, Moed Rabbi Yeshua agrees. Shimon turns to Reuven directly. Between him and him, you know, I actually borrowed a mana, 100 ziz, $100 from you. So I am initiating the claim, so to speak. I'm informing you, I'm reminding you, and I've already returned that money to you. Shu neman. So he's neman, it's pesha asar, pesha hitter. Skip fathers and fields, speak about money directly. Answer. Mishum de kabai lemisni seifa, because we wanted to present the other side of the coin as well, which is yesh edim shulavim imenu. There were edim that attest to this fact that there was, that episode. In this case, the edim will come and say, well, yeah, you borrowed money, but the fellow will say, I paid back. So since he is not the one who's volunteering the information, the edim are telling us about the story. In this case, he's not believed. So that would theoretically be the other side of the coin, right? But it's untrue. We know for a fact this halacha is incorrect. Even if Reuven lent Shimon money in front of Edom, it doesn't necessarily mean that Shimon has to repay him in front of Edom. So even if Edom will attest to the fact that he borrowed, he can turn around and claim, I repaid the loan, and he's pater. So the second aspect of the Mishnah would not hold true in this case, and that's why Rabbi Shua discussed fields and fathers, which have both sides of the halacha to it. But we have a better suggestion. Skip fields. Okay, include fathers, but just speak about finances. If listening, Rabbi Yeshua can present the halacha as follows. Shimon approaches Reuven and he says, I had a transaction with your father. Your father who already passed away. So your father had money by me. Basically, I borrowed money from father, and I paid him back half. Typically, that's called moide b'miktzas, a partial admission for which the Torah imposes a shvua on this fellow. Oh, there's something fishy. You're admitting part way. Let's get to the bottom of it. So typically, there is a shvua. He has to promise, has to swear to back up his claim. But in this case, shehu neman, he is believed. I borrowed from your father and repaid him half. It's unrelated to you. It's between me and your father. In this case, he's neman. So that can be a good case for the Mishnah. Skip fields. Speak about money. Speak simple. I borrowed from your father. I paid him back half. In this case, I'm Nemun. Pesha Asa, Pesha Hitter. I instigated. I volunteered. I initiated. Believe me. The answer is it won't work. Why not? Aliba Deman. Whose Shita are we following? Aliba de Rabbanon is the Shita's Rabbanon. Ha'amri Mesha Avei Dehavi. They hold that if it's a monetary issue pertaining to one's father who already passed away, any sort of admission on account of the borrower is considered like Hashavas Haved. It's like I'm returning a lost item. The Gemara soon will explain why a person has no problem denying, if he wants to deny, has no problem denying a transaction that took place with another person, even if it's this person's father. Since it's not directly dealing with his creditor, he finds it easier to deny. So the fact that I'm admitting, even partially, right, even part of it, that is considered like a Hashavas Haved. And in this case, Rashi says, even if the son would actually be claiming, you owe my father money, you borrowed and you only paid back partially, that's called Hashavas Haveda by way of any admission on behalf of the borrower. That's called Hashavas Haveda, and he would be potter. You just take his facts as his claim as fact, and that's it. So then, the Mishnah, which presents two sides of the coin, if I'm the initiator, I'm potter, but if I'm responding to a claim that I'm chayiv, in this case, where it pertains to his father, any sort of response on my part, even if it's been triggered by your claim, would be considered Hashavas Haveda, and I'm potter from any shvur. So then the halacha of the Mishnah wouldn't hold true. Again, the Mishnah is differentiating between a case where I initiated, or I'm just responding to a claim. If I initiate, Pesha Asar, Pesha Hitter, I'm believed. Otherwise, if I'm responding to a claim, then it's not Pesha Asar. But if it's a claim which involves this fellow's father, it's always called Hashavas Haveda and I'm potter. So according to the Rabbanon, the Mishnah could not speak about this case. On the other hand, so maybe we're following the other Shita, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, who holds it's not called Hashavas Haveda, and we treat it like a regular din Torah. The reason we'll see later. In any case, he holds that it's not called Hashavas Haveda, and therefore Ha'amar Shvu Oboy. According to him, you need to swear to defend yourself and substantiate your claim. And Rashi adds, even if there is nobody claiming against me, I just woke over to you, you know that your father lent me money and I paid him back half, that triggers a chiv shvu. I have to swear to back up my claim. If that's the case, then again the halacha in the Mishnah would not hold true if it were presented in this type of scenario that we're speaking about claimants and fathers and moed b'miktzas. That answers our question, right? Before we get into the whole sugi here, pretty much our question was answered. The question was, why did the Mishnah speak about fields and fathers? Why not about, well, in the first suggestion we had, a direct claim between him and him regarding monetary issues? Well, that wouldn't work, because even if there was Adam involved, I can always say I paid you back. Next idea was, speak about the father's involvement, but forget about fields. I borrowed and I paid back part. Well, according to Rabbanim, in all cases, I'm potter from Shvua, I'm believed, it's Hashavas Haveda. Give me credit for stepping forward and even acknowledging part of it. It's Hashavas Haveda. According to Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, no, I wouldn't be believed in any case. It's like a regular din Torah between two individuals. There's no ne'emanus. I would need to make a shvua like a regular moed b'miktzas, a partial acknowledgement which requires a shvua. So once again, the halacha and the Mishnah would not work. Okay, now let's proceed and elaborate on this machlekes. The Sanya, where do we find this machlekes between Rabbanan who consider it a meshav aveda, which exempts him from Shvua, and Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov disagrees. The side, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov, Pa'amim, sometimes we have a case, she'adam nishba al tanas atzmai. One could be chayev a shvua which is triggered by his own personal claim. I'm the one who initiated the claim, and it triggers a shvua on my part. Ketzad, how do we have this? Typically, shvua is in response to a claim, not triggered by my own claim. Ketzad, how do we have this? Our situation. Shimon approaches Reuven. You should know that your father has money by me. I mean, he lent me money. Vechalt pras, and I repaid half. Harei nishba. Shimon has to make a shvua. That's called moide b'miktzas, a partial admission. V'zeu shenishba al tanas atzmai. Here's a fellow making a shvua as a result of his own claim. V'chachamim oimrim no, einoi elo k'meishav avedu pater. It's like a person returning a lost item. He deserves credit for stepping forward, for offering this information. He's pater from shvua. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov does not subscribe to this universally accepted concept that Meishav Aved is pater from Shvua. Amar Rav, you're right. Typically, he's pater. We're speaking b'toyane katan. There's somebody claiming against him. So a fellow passed away. His young son, a katan, gets up and claims against Shimon. You should know my father lent you money. Where's the money? Since Shimon here is responding to a claim, albeit of a katan, but it is a claim nevertheless, that's not called Meishav Aveda. It's not like I picked up an item and returned it to you by my own, initiative. I'm responding to a claim. Well, that's problematic because a katan has no power to claim in Bezdin. V'amar we learned Einish boin al tanas cheresh shoyte v'katan. One does not have to make a shvua in response to the claim issued by a deaf mute, a deranged, a katan. My katan, no. When we said katan, we mean gadol. Of course, he's an adult. My the katan. Why is he called katan? In reference to his father's business dealings. The lagabe mili de aviv katanu. In reference to his father's business adventures, he's a katan, ignorant and out of the loop. So we call him a katan, but really we're speaking about an adult, and he's claiming against Shimon. And Shimon, by responding with partial admission, constitutes moide b'miktzas, which needs a shvua, and that's Shittas Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov. If that's the case, that he's responding to a claim, tanas atzmai. Why does the Brisa refer to the case as he's swearing on account as a result of his own personal claim? And Shimon is swearing because he claimed, because he informed us about the claim. That's not so. Tanas acherimi. There's a fellow claiming against him. Answer. Tanas achirim v'das atzmai. True. Someone is claiming, but he is admitting, and the admission is generating the shvua. Well, then it's no different than any other typical situation in Bezdin. Kuli tanas, all the claims in Bezdin work that way. Tanas achirim v'das atzmaninu. Everybody by miktzas. How does that happen? Reuven claims and Shimon admits. So why do we coin this term in reference to this specific case? Ella, says the Gemara, you're right. Let's backtrack. There's a katan, just a katan getting up and claiming in reference to his father's loan. Question, a katan cannot trigger a shvua. Answer, yeah, it's his own personal matter. I lent you money, etc. That cannot trigger a shvua, but here, it's in reference to his father's issues. And in that case, Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov holds it triggers a shvua. Since this claim refers to his father's dealings with Shimon, it's different. It can trigger a shvua. So if he gets up and says, my father lent you $100, and Shimon responds by admitting only part of it, and that's Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov's chiddush, and the Rabbanan disagree. They say, no, for the same money you could have denied it. Big deal. It's just a little kid here, even if he's an adult. But it's not the actual person I was involved with. The person has an easier time denying something if it's not his actual, benefactor. So then there is no shvua of moed b'miktzas, as we're going to see. The machlekes between these two tanoim revolves around the concept explained by Rabbah. Rabbi gives us the rationale, the background, the basis for the halacha of a moida b'miktsas being chayav yishvua. Amar Rabbi, mipnei ma? Why is it so? Amra Torah, the Torah tells us moida b'miktsas atani yeshava. A person issues a partial admission to a claim. He has to get up and make a shvua to substantiate his claim. Why? What's the reasoning behind it? Chazaka, there's a established chazaka that ein adam meiz panav b'fnei ba'al chayva. A person doesn't have the guts to flat out deny the claim of his creditor, of his ba'al chayv. After all, deep down he knows this fellow lent him money. How could I be so brazen to deny it? So in reality, I wanted to deny it, but I just couldn't. I'm a match, right? Really? He would have liked to deny the entire thing, but he couldn't. He couldn't help himself. The reason why he didn't deny, it's because a person just doesn't have it within him to do so. So in reality, that compels me to admit the entire amount. So really he wanted to admit the entire amount, but poor guy doesn't have money at the moment. The reason why he didn't admit the entire amount, this way he can wiggle away and delay and procrastinate. He's figuring, until I get a hold of money, let me push him away. In the meantime, wait until I get some money. Probably I'll pay him up. So that's why he sort of admits halfway. He can't deny, so he admits partial guilt. And that's why we impose a shvua to bring out the truth. For Achmana Amar, the Torah says, Rami shvua impose a shvua, this will compel him to admit the entire amount. So that's the rationale behind the chiv shvua imposed on a moed b'miktzas. Would that apply to a son of, like in our case? The son is claiming on behalf of father. That's the machlekes. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Sovar, doesn't matter whether it's the actual benefactor or the son of. Loishna boy, loishna bevnoi. Einoi mei, the person doesn't have the guts to deny, the brazenness to be kaifer. The claim of the fellow himself or even his son. You're the son of my benefactor. I can't just ignore you. V'hilkach lav meishav avei dahavi. And therefore, in this case, that he's admitting partial guilt, he's moed b'miktzas, he has to make a shvua. It's not to my credit that I'm admitting. I had to admit. I had no choice. I couldn't deny it. I just couldn't. Whether it's the man himself or his son, I just couldn't deny it. So I'm chayiv a shvua, and that's why he calls it tanas atzmai. By the way, because we're speaking about a katan. So katan isn't your typical litigant. He doesn't really have the power of claiming in bezin. So we call it tanas atzmai. It's as if I myself brought it upon myself by admitting, by acknowledging. Okay, but bottom line is, this is called the moed b'miktzas and chayiv shvua. V'Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan hold no. It's called meishav aved. So according to Rabbi Yaakov, it's not meishav aved. I'm not returning a lost item. La meishav aved havi. Returning a lost item. Nobody knows. Nobody saw. I'm initiating. I'm volunteering. I'm offering. Of course, I'm parted from shvua, but here it's a response to a claim. I have my back against the wall. I have no choice. I have to admit I'm chayiv shvua. Rabbanan Sabri, they hold no. The big difference between the man himself or the son of. Boy, who the enemy is. A person doesn't have the ability to deny the claim of his benefactor. I just can't. You did me a favor. How could I deny it? So partial admission requires a shvua. But son of? I could just deny it. I don't feel compelled to admit. And the very fact that I did not deny, meishav aved havi. That makes me a meishav aved. I get credit. I wasn't forced to admit. The fact that I got up and I admitted, that's a factor in my favor. That lends to my credibility. You have to believe me. It wasn't a forced admission. It was by my own volition, and therefore, it's like returning an item. The halacha is when you return an item, and the fellow claims, well, what happened to the other? You're withholding one of the two items that you found. There's no chiv shvua, because you would never have known that I found it. It's my own doing. I'm offering, I'm volunteering, I'm initiating, I'm triggering. Out of the goodness of my heart, you can't hold me accountable for anything. Interesting. So bottom line is, back to the Mishnah. Why did the Mishnah pick the case of the father with the field? We had two, alternative suggestions for the halacha in the Mishnah, which both did not work out. And that took us to the machlekes between Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and the Rabbanon. And according to Maskanas HaGemara, typically if I find a lost item and return it, of course, I'm not subject to any claims. But in this case where I'm being confronted by the son of, and I admit partial, admission, is it a moed of miktas or not? We have machlekes Tanai. Says the Mishnah. Ha'idem she'amru ksav yadeinu huzeh. Here comes another example of pesha asar pesha hitter. So we have a shtar halva, shtar chayiv, which clearly states that Shimon borrowed money from Reuben. Now we know that Minat Torah, that's fine, perfectly valid to collect with. The Rabbanon, however, were concerned that perhaps, a shtar can be forged, the signatures can be forged, and therefore we have to be mekayim the shtar. Mekayim means to certify. How do we certify? Many ways to do it. Either the Edom themselves, who sign the shtar, will come back and confirm, yes, this is our handwriting, or we can confirm their handwriting independently from a different source. We take another shtar that's been certified, and that shtar features the same signatures, and we say, okay, if they were certified there, let's just compare it to what we have here, the same exact handwriting, it's a kosher shtar. So with the Rabbanon, we need to be mekayim a shtar. We need to certify and confirm the authenticity of the edus in the shtar. So we're looking for kiyum, and who comes forth? The edom themselves, those who signed the shtar. What do they say? Edom shamru, ksav yadeinu is true. This is our signatures. Aval, but, a big but. The shtar is still puzzle. How? How can it be? It's their signatures. Aval anusim ayinu. We were forced to sign. We were threatened. The shtar is totally void. Katana ayinu. We were minors when we signed. Psula edus ayinu. We were puzzled. We were relatives at that point. Relatives to the, to the litigants, etc. Hareilu ne'emanim. They're going to be believed. You know why? Pesha asar pesha hitter. After all, we have no independent verification of their signatures except for what they're speaking. They're the ones offering. They're the ones explaining. We have to take it or leave it. But let's say we have independent verification. Other Edom come and say, well, we know these signatures are valid. Or we were able to compare their signatures to another shtar which had been certified, and we see it's the same signatures, which indicates that their signatures are true and valid. So in both these cases, these Edom today are not offering much information. We already know, we already independently verified and confirmed the shtar. They're not going to be believed when they come and say, well, there's something wrong with the shtar. When do we say they're not believed in the second case? Only when they say, we were bribed, so to speak, right? It was an onus which was monetarily related, financially related. So then, of course, they're not believed. Because, as Rashi explains, a person can't incriminate himself on Bezdin. You could say, I owe you money. That's called Haidas Baldin. That we accept. But if a fellow walks into Bezdin and says, you know what? I was Mechal Shabbos, I deserve Misa. Or I'm a Pasale, I'm a Rasha, I did something wrong. We don't accept that. So here, they're basically saying, we did something terribly wrong. We were paid off and we composed illegitimate shtar. That's making yourself a Rasha. that's putting yourself in bad light, incriminating yourself, and you can't do that. You have no right, you have no ne'emanus. We don't believe you in terms of that. So that's why they're not ne'eman. Aval, but let's say they justify their actions by saying, Anusim ayinu machmas nefashos. We were under the threat of death. He says he's going to kill us if we don't sign the shtar. That justifies. That's pikuach nefesh. Hara elu ne'eman. Of course we believe them. Amalei, Rava responds, I understand, you're justifying their actions, but after all, we have a solid, confirmed shtar. Kol kimina, is this in his hands? Can the aid come and sort of uproot the shtar? Kivin shehigid, we know that once an aid offers testimony, shuv eine chayzer or magen, you can't go back and retract that testimony. We have a confirmed shtar. It is tantamount to testimony, to Eidos and Bezdin. Reuben lent money to Shimon. How can a pair of Edom come along and say, even if it's the same Edom in the shtar, doesn't matter? They're coming back and negating what they themselves signed in the shtar. 1 second, by the way, this kash is only on the second case in the Mishnah. If we already have independent verification that this shtar is confirmed and certified, so we have a bona fide testimony, we have agodas edus, so to speak, they can't come and undo it. In the Reisha, we need them. The shtar is of questionable, status. We need them to come confirm, yeah, this is a kosher shtar, but then they can come back and say, well, we signed under these circumstances, so we have to believe the entire picture. Pesha asa pesha, but in the Seifa, this shtar has been confirmed, has been certified, independent of their edus. And now they're going up against a certified shtar. It's as though they're trying to retract their testimony. Perhaps you'll say, Hani mili al peh, this halacha of kivan shehigid, once you offer testimony, you can't retract. That's only when you testified verbally. Aval b'shtar loy, but if you testified in a shtar, so to speak, that's not called hagodas edus, and you can go back and retract. That's not true. Aval b'shtar loy, v'amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish tells us it's not so. Edem achasumim al shtar. Any edem that have their names signed, they have their signatures on a shtar, it's as though they're testifying. It is considered as though their edus was, cross-examined, verified, confirmed, and accepted by Bezdin. So signing a shtar is tantamount to testifying, and you can't just retract. You're right. If anything, the halacha was relating to the first part of the Mishnah. We have no independent verification regarding the status of the shtar, other than these two Edom themselves who come and tell us about everything that happened. True, it's our signatures, but it was composed under the following circumstances, which pretty much invalidate the shtar. Harelu ne'emanu, we believe them, right? What examples do we have in the Mishnah? They claim they were ktanim, upsule edus, or anusim. So we're going to focus on anusim. When do we accept what they're saying? That only works if they claim that they were being bodily threatened. Then we believe it. But if there was some financial interest compelling them to sign, and that's what they're claiming, we can't believe it. My time, why? A person does not have the ability to present himself as a Rosh in front of Bezdin. You can't incriminate yourself. You can't tag yourself as a Rosh. You're not Neman. Rashi says a person is a karev to himself. You can't testify about yourself. We know that an aid has to be a non-relative to the subject, right? So here you're speaking about yourself. You're a relative of yourself. So you're not now. So bottom line is, we have two cases in the Mishnah. In the first case, we haven't yet certified the shtar. They are coming to certify it, but they're adding. It's our signature, but, they're believed. Provided, it makes sense, provided they're not incriminating themselves. In the Seifa, the shtar was already independently confirmed, in which case the Edom cannot claim anything which would be to the detriment of the shtar. Okay, let's leave the rest at the beginning of a sugya for tomorrow. Be'ez Hashem. Okay, so what do we have today? We had one Mishnah and then another discussing examples of Pesha Asa Pesha Heter. In the first Mishnah, he approaches his fellow friend, your father had a field, I purchased it from him. So he's volunteering the entire information. Pesha Asa Pesha Heter. If there are Edom to that effect, Edom who testify that father owned this field, then this fellow is no longer Naaman to say he purchased it. The Gemara had two kashas. Why speak about fathers and fields? Speak, for instance, about Shimon approaching Ruvain. You lent me money and I paid you back. Answer, because in that type of situation, even if there were Edom that he lent him money, he can still claim he paid him back. So the second part of the Mishnah wouldn't hold true. You see, there are two parts to the Mishnah. If I'm totally initiating, it's called Pesha Asa Pesha Heter. But if there were Edom who trigger the concern, then I'm not Naaman. Well, in this case, even if there are Edom that I borrowed, I'm still Naaman to say I paid you back. We had another option. Fine, keep the father in, but stick to money. Shimon walks over to Reuven. Your father lent me money, and I returned half. Why isn't that a good idea for the halacha in the Mishnah? Answer is, because according to Shittas Rabbanan, in all cases, whether I'm the one volunteering the information or you're the one claiming against me, since you're only the son of, I have full ability to deny that. And the fact that I chose not to deny, that's to my credit. I'm called Meishiv Aveda, and I would be putted from Shvur. So once again, even if you would claim against me, I would still be pater, and therefore this halacha is not a good way to express the halacha in the Mishnah, which indicates that if there is a claim against me, then I would not be believed, because in this case, even if there is a claim, since you're only the son of, whatever I respond, I am Naaman. So that took us into the whole machlokes between the Rabbanan, Elazar and Yaakov, whether or not we apply the concept of Meisha Aveda. So let's say, son of is claiming against me, and I admit partial admission. Is that called Moed B'Miktzas or not? So it's based on the idea which is presented by Rabbah. Why indeed is a Moed B'Miktzas chayiv in a shvur? Because, you know what, I could not be kafir against my benefactor. So I really want to admit, but I'm short funds, so I admit partially. Therefore, Torah says, go make a shvur to bring out the truth. According to Rabbi Yehuda and Yaakov, whether it's the actual benefactor or his son, I am compelled to admit somewhat, and therefore this principle holds true. According to Rabbanan, by son of, I have no problem denying. The fact that I didn't deny, that's to my credit, I'm called Meishav Aved. We moved on to the next example of Pesha Asa Pesha Heter. We have a shtar, and Edom come along and say, yeah, you need to verify, you need to certify the shtar. We're here to verify. This is our signatures, but you should know it's puzzle for another reason. We were puzzle edus, we were krovim, ktanim, anusim. The Gemara concludes anusim means it's rather justified. There was some real threat against us, which justified our signing the shtar. In this case, Pesha Asa Pesha Heter. You believe that it's our signatures. Believe us on the circumstance as well. However, if we have independent verification and confirmation of the shtar, then we certify it irrespective of their edus, and now we don't have to reckon with their edus, rather we treat the shtar as kosher and valid. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.